19. We had finished the verse number 18, and where Bhagavan had mentioned, as I told you, that there are these four types of bhaktas: those who haven't done any punyas in the previous lives, the very possibility of their turning to the divine principle, to God, doesn't arise at all. There are a few questions which were raised, and I'll take them up during the course of our discussions today. And those who have done a lot of punya, that means good activities, and these good activities have created in them good antakarana, have purified their internal constitution. They have sort of purified minds. They are the ones who turns to me. So he has, he had concluded in the verse number 15 as to those who are mudhas, those are duskritins, those who are adhamas, and those who are mayaya apakrita chetasaha, asuram. All these categories of people will not remember me. We have already discussed that at length. The four types of people who remember me, worship me, is not Lord Krishna here, is Sarvam Vasudeva. That he will tell later on very quickly. Here he is mentioning about the ones who turn to the Brahman with or without names and forms. And they are categorized as Artha, Jigyansu, and Artharthi. Those are Sakama Bhaktas. And then there are Jnanis who do not consider themselves different from Lord himself. They see themselves, they think Lord is their existence, sole source of existence. And therefore, Lord also doesn't treat them as separate from them. This is for their stuti, because everything is one. That we already know as students of Vedanta. This is only for the Manda Buddhis that Bhagavan talks like this, that there are four categories, and then Tesam Jnana Nitya Yukta. Ekta Bhaktir Visishyate, he is special. And he has one very stable mind, he's all the time meditating on me. That means what? He is Samabhava Parna, Stita Prajna, Yohi Jnanino Atyartham, Aham Sacha Mama Priyaha. So, he's extremely close to me because I'm extremely close to him. God is not doing a give and take kind of a relationship. What he's trying to say is, once the person has attained that level of self-consciousness as non-different from the divine, then the divine doesn't have a chance to abandon him. Now you understand how to get divine protection. The more we immerse ourselves in meditation on the divine, in meditation on God, the less and less our worries can trouble us, because our consciousness itself, because of proximity, because of its meditation on the divine principles, gains the energies and the qualities of the divine. So it becomes godly. So it's not disturbed, distracted by the worldly attractions and the temptations. But then if you become too confident that you have already reached the destination where you are actually halfway through, that is problematic. Because then that is a false confidence. That is not really what it is. It's like a student, as a boy who tells his father, son, are you studying? Your exams are coming. He says, no, Papa, I finished my course. It doesn't mean anything because he flunks in the examination. It happens almost every time. I had a friend like that at that university. He used to always finish his course at least a month before the examinations, but he'll not score very high. But he always had a sense of satisfaction that he has finished his course. He'll be playing table tennis and everything because he quickly used to finish his course by February. Exams were in April. So he'll be moving around. Ultimately, he's not prepared. Prepared as per his expectations, but he's not prepared as per the expectations of the examiner. So if we think we are spiritual, we are self-realized, according to our own fancies and imaginations, that is not what is being mentioned here. वो कह रहे हैं कि जो सचमुच ईश्वर सत्ता के नजदीक पहुंच गया हो, उसे प्राप्त कर गया हो, वो भगवान को बहुत प्रिय है, क्योंकि उसके लिए सिर्फ भगवान ही प्रिय है, वो एकात्मता वहां पे पैदा होता है। अपने आप सोचने से नहीं होता है, क्योंकि उसको वो उपलब्ध किया हुआ है। लेकिन जो बाकी जो तीन तरह के लोग हैं, आर्त अर्थार्थी यानी जिज्ञासु। जिज्ञासु कौन है? जो मुमुक्षु है, जो सन्यासी लेता है लेकिन ज्ञान नहीं हुआ है, साधना का शुरुआत कर रहा है। सो दिस उदारा, दे आर ऑल उत्कृष्ट, दे आर ऑल गुड। व्हाई? Because otherwise they will not be able to think about me. And definitely they're very good, but there is only one amongst them I call Yuktatma, because he's so much settled in his prayer and worship and meditation on me. He is not running away. It doesn't mean that he is not doing all kinds of other sadhanas. You can do it, you know. You can do it. You can do any kind of thing you want. But the truth of the matter is, what Vedanta says, what Upanishads say is that you do these upasanas, you do some yoga, some certain pranayamas. These are all sadhanas. These are the staircase, different steps towards a more refined consciousness. This is for Atma Sodhana. And the more and more you purify yourself thus, the greater chance of your being able to understand the mystery of your existence. And how do I say? Why did I say mystery of your existence? Because all the time the samsara appears real. We have questions in our mind. Who is God? Who are we as Jiva? Why we are captured here? And why this samsara was at all created, if we have to again struggle a lot to overcome it? Is it not a very valid question? It is. And this question was raised by a friend of ours, Sompal, yesterday. So, there are 2-3 ways to look at it. Why God created this samsara, if you ask me this question? God has not created this samsara on his own as per the Shastras. Whatever God does to us is according to our karma. He cannot give more than what we deserve. He cannot give at the same time anything less than what we deserve. That is a beautiful principle, isn't it? He cannot do any dishonesty. He cannot do any cheating. He cannot do any, kind of partition favoritism or nepotism, as we see in offices or in businesses or in the political arena. No, nothing of that sort. Our good and bad karmas will fructify as bad and good fate or destiny. And therefore, instead of being bogged down by this fact that this is my destiny, the truth lies in the fact that we realize that we have to move forward, because what we do today, good or bad, will fructify as our future fate in a good or bad way, as good luck or bad luck. That is a futuristic, positive way to look at it. Now about Srishti. Even this whole Srishti that you see is supposed to be created by God depending on our karmas. And why that happens, when it started, if you ask that question, so far the Vedic wisdom is concerned, they say it is anadi. We don't know when it started. It was always there. That means what? It's a cyclical process. There is no Big Bang theory that we talk about. And a lot of people even don't, logically it's not acceptable that something came out of nothing. If you look at it, it doesn't make any sense. That is what? Nasato vidyate bhava na bhava vidyate sataha. Out of nothing, something cannot come out. There must be some causes. The causal forms have to be there. If you suddenly find payasam or pudding, there must be milk, there must be custard powder, there must be fruits and dry fruits. Then you can have custard or pudding or whatever you want. You cannot have pudding out of air. At least there is air. You can't have something out of nothing. That is what generally the Vedantic wisdom is. So the Srishti has come out of where? It has come out of our own karmas through Ishvara Srishti. Then Vedanta says that this Srishti that you see, this sansar, hai karke lagta hai. It appears as if it exists. Fundamentally, it doesn't. Now, don't get scared, because this is what physics has started saying now. There is a school of thought called New Realism, which also says the same thing. There is a German guy who's working on it. You can Google to find out what is New Realism. So, they also argue, yes, we agree that yes, people are there, cars are there, buses are there, everything fine. Fundamentally, does the universe exist? You cannot prove it does. That's how they are looking at it. You can prove these things appearing, that's fine. But does the universe exist? There is no proof that the universe exists. There are different arguments they're giving for that. That means what? What Vedas and Vedanta said thousands of years back, they're saying more or less the same thing. And I haven't gone into the details of their thinking, but broadly, we say something similar. Maybe we are saying something completely different, but it is similar. What is the similarity? ये सृष्टि है करके दिखता है. The सृष्टि appears if it exists. Fundamentally, paramarthikatvena. Vyavaharikatvena, yes, there is a computer and all this we are creating, that's fine. But if you say whether all this exists fundamentally doesn't exist. Like dreams exist, dream realities exist, fundamentally they don't exist. What do I mean by fundamentally? We have a word called paramarthika satya. Now, compared to dream, compared to swapna, the Jagrat Avastha is also Paramarthika. It is called Vyavaharika Paramarthika Satya. This is superior truth. This is a reality more real than the reality you see during your dreams. ये वास्तवता वास्तव है, ज्यादा वास्तव है. Compared to what? Compared to स्वप्न वास्तवता, जागृत वास्तविकता परमार्थिक है. जागृत वास्तवता के अपेक्षा जो परमार्थिक सत्य है, जो ब्राह्मण है, वो ज्यादा वास्तव है और वो निरतिशय वास्तव है. That is the ultimate reality. There is nothing beyond that. That is what they say. Now the question is, why God created all this to trouble us? We, in our school of thought, in our tradition, we don't hold God responsible for creating this universe. The Nyayikas do, and the Mimamsakas don't even accept Ishvara. Devatas are there, Mantradhina Devata, they don't have any independent existence other than as part of mantra. When you say Om Indraya Swaha, so that Devata Tattva is there very much in that mantra, and he'll give you profits or benefits. And that Devata is also one Manushya who has done a lot of Punya Karma, he has become a Devata. He is not permanent, you are not permanent. There is a Pralaya, there is a Srishti. Who creates it? No, it was there since Anadi Kala. There is a cyclical process. But Vedanta, unlike Mimamsaka, the Uttar Mimamsaka, that is Vedantis, we accept there is Ishvara. बट वी ऑल्सो से कि वो ईश्वर भी संपूर्ण वास्तव नहीं है. तो क्या है? हम कहते हैं माया उपहित चैतन्य. माया का एक कोट उन्होंने पहन रखा है. ब्राह्मण जब माया रूप का एक जैकेट पहन लेता है, वो ईश्वर बन जाता है. वो माया का जैकेट उसके ऊपर नहीं है, तब उसका नाम रूप कुछ नहीं, कोई गुण भी नहीं है. वो निर्गुण निराकार है, निर्विकार है, कोई विकार नहीं है. तो सृष्टि कहाँ से आया? विकार उसका नहीं होता है. तो सृष्टि वास्तव नहीं है. ये वास्तव है तो वो निर्विकार कैसे रह सकते हैं? उनमें विकार होगा तभी तो बदलेगा. दूध दही बनेगा, दही से छेना, छेना से अलग चीज बनते रहते हैं. बट इफ यू से दैट ब्राह्मण इज अंडरगोइंग चेंजेस, yeah, certain schools of thought in India, they accept Brahma Parinamavada. In, say, there is some kind of a metamorphosis in Ramanuja Visishtadvaita Darsana, and even the Kashmir Shaivites, they have something similar but different. Their argument is that don't ask God how he created this world. He's too powerful, too intelligent. Why he created? For compassion, so that we can get liberated. Why in the first place he could not liberate it from the beginning? Who will take care of the karma load? That means generally people will always be in a state of bondage. That is what Srishti is all about. Some people, bondage is the general condition. Mukti or moksha is a special condition, right? Like in a famine-stricken African country, poverty is a general condition. Some people are rich. In rural India, you can see there's some inequality. There are people who are very smart, very intelligent, very rich. General people are having food to eat, that is fine, but they are not very rich. Broadly, they are at a subsistence level. I'm not talking about Punjab and Haryana, but I'm talking about Eastern UP, Bihar. Generally, there's a lot of poverty. Some people are very rich. Similarly, there are some people who are very wise and they are capable of getting moksha through jnana. A Vedanta student is supposed to be a special student. Then Bhagavan says he is nitya yuktaha. I've tried to answer this question about why this Srishti in a very simple, naive way, because it requires a lot of discussion. And as we move forward, we will discuss more and more about it. Now let's come back to the mantras. So, then why these people are special, these Vedanta students? Why should they be considered so special? What is so good about them? You said that all of the other people are also special. These guys are Nitya Yukta, something extra. Then why he's saying, now Bhagavan says this, why they are so, all of them are actually special because they are different from the ones who are going to a lot of people, they don't believe in God, but they believe in tantrics. They don't believe in God, but they will believe in demons. They'll believe in ghosts, bhoot hai. They're ready to believe it. All kinds of black magic, they're ready to believe it. God, no. They don't have trust in God. That's a problematic area. We'll discuss that today. बहुनं जन्मानामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यन्ते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः. Now, the first line applies to all four. Please remember this. Make some points in your book if you're holding a book. बहुनाम जन्मानाम अंते, बहु जिंदगी जानने के बाद, मतलब अपने को साफ करने के बाद, after they clean their consciousness, their mind again and again, they purify their action, they become sadhus, they become pure souls through several lives, different cycles of being here on earth. Jnanavan, the one who becomes purer in his consciousness, who has a more sharp, subtle mind, because for a dumb mind, for a foolish guy, I am not visible. I'll be here very much, but he cannot see me. Okay? So Jnanavan, Mam means me, Prapadyante. They start worshipping me. Okay? That is what he's saying. Now, the second line is broadly about all four, but it's more about the fifth guy, the fourth guy, the Jnani. Vasudevah Sarvamiti. And how he worships him. All four worship in Vasudeva. But you know in what way? Vasudevah Sarvam Iti. All this is Vasudeva. They are not looking at Vasudeva as a guy with a Vasuri, Gopis, Radhaji. No. We are not talking about that name and form of Vasudeva. We're talking about Vasudeva, who is Samanya Rupena, Sarva Vyapta. And he cannot be Sarva Vyapta as a human being. He cannot be Sarva Vyapta as a Devata. How he can be Sarva Vyapta? As Shuddha Chaitanya, as Sarvatmaka Asti Bhati Rupa. है भी और दिख भी रहा है. If there is something you cannot see, you cannot accept its reality. But this Suddha Chaitanya, it exists, the Ishwar exists, and it is so Prakasavan, it explains itself. And therefore, it's Asti Bhati Rupa. Sarvamiti, Sa Mahatma, that kind of a pure soul, Sudurlavaha, very difficult to get. Durlava is Dukkhena Labhya. It's very difficult to get. Sushtu Dukkhena Labhya. It's very, very difficult to get anywhere close to anyway get close to it, and therefore he says that is very difficult. Now let us look at the tikas and the commentaries, and let's see how. So Shankaracharya sort of very quickly, in a very shortcut fashion, puts an end to the explanation by doing anvaya of this sloka. Bahunang janmanam. Why bahut janm lene ki zarurat hai? Why is it needed that one has to be born several times? He's explaining. Jnanartha sanskara arjana asrayanam. So they have taken these lives as opportunities to purify their consciousness and get a sharp mind. Ante, after doing that, the mind becomes very bright and sharp and samabhavapanna. He becomes a good student, a Vedanta in a way. Ante samapto, when it comes to an end, this whole struggle, jnanavan, that guy, this jnana is not Brahma jnana, this is broadly jnanavan. He has the viveka, a proper ability to discriminate satya from asatya. Nitya vastu viveka he has, and he knows what is God. He reads the Upanishads, Poroksha jnana he has. Then he goes till God, he gets in. Then after getting, he's realized and he doesn't forget God again. It's not like vaccine that you take a dose and you forget. No. You have to constantly meditate on him. Jnanavan, prapta paripaka jnano. So he gets that matured understanding about who is God and what is people, why we are here. All these questions he has answers for. Mam Vasudevam. Who is this Vasudeva? Is it Lord Krishna? He's saying no. Pratyag Atmanam. Do you know what is Pratyag Atma? This word Pratyag will come again and again. Pratyag is what is near you, what is yourself. Parag, which is distant. Pratyag here means the presence of the divine, the presence of pure consciousness in all of us. So all of us are Pratyag Atma. However, when we get deluded, we see ourselves as Purusha, as Nari, as Yuvaka, as Yubati, all these names and forms come. But what is inside? The Pratyagatma, that Brahman, that luminous self is within you. And when that luminous self, what is the difference between that and Chidavasa is about mind, and Antakarana Sakhi Purusha is Antakarana Upahita Saitanya. When Manabuddhi Ahankar, it's clouded by that, that is called Sakshi Chaitanya. These words will slowly make sense. Pratyagatmanam pratyakshataha prapadyante. So he worships directly. Prapadyante doesn't mean he has a ghanti and some kela and phool and does puja. No. He meditates on it. This archana is dhyanatmaka. It is not kriyatmaka. It is not about rituals. Katham, how? Vasudevam sarvamiti. How does he worship me? As a person wearing a yellow dhuti and a blue, uparka, and then beautiful, this, he has this peacock feather at the top of his crown. No, not in that form, but Vasudevaha sarvamiti. Ya evam sarvatmanam mam prapadyante, the one who is meditating on me as sarvatmaka, sarvatmanam, who is the soul of everyone, who is the fundamental truth behind every existing being on earth, that fellow, and in the universe, Saha Mahatma. He is a great soul. Why? Because it's a very difficult thing to do. Naha tatsamaha Mahatma, not tatsamaha anya asti adhikova. There is no one else who can be compared with him because he is so sharp-minded, so pure-minded, ataha, and therefore sudullavaha, and therefore he is very difficult to find. It's very difficult to come across a person who is meditating on Lord Krishna is not Vrindavan Krishna, but Krishna is Sarvatmaka, Sarvatma Rupa, Sarvagya, Sarvavidyaman, Sarvasaktiman. That sort of meditation. That is what he's talking about. Pure Vedantic meditation. Shaha Manushyanam Sahasresu iti Uttam. It's very difficult to get that sort of a pure soul. Okay? And let's go to, these are easy slokas, 4 or 5 slokas. The next verse is, okay, Madhusudana Saraswati is explaining it. Bahunam Janmanam Kinchit Kinchit Punya Upachaya Hetunam Ante. So every life it does some punya karma, purifies himself. Like people do different kind of degrees, and you invest a little money, you make a little profit. Use that money to make more profit. Similarly, or you study and complete one degree, then go and do another degree. So similarly, this fellow does every life a lot of punyas and purifies his consciousness. Ante means charame, at the end of it. In the charame janmani, in the last birth as a human being, because he'll now get moksha. Sarva Sarva Sukrita Vipaka Rupe is the result. Vipaka is the phala of all the Sukrita and Punya that he has done. What is the outcome of the sadhana that he has done? Upasanas. Vasudevaha Sarvamiti Jnanavan, son, getting this knowledge that everything is Krishna. It's not about going to temple. It's not about doing this. It's very easily said than done. And it's very clear also, it's being mentioned that you cannot experience that unless you have done these vasanas. Because Bhagavan is himself saying, Bahunang Janmanam Ante. So let's not pretend that we have reached there and said, Nini, to likha hai Gita mein, koi puja vaje, koi jarurat nahi. No, you have to do. You have to worship Lord Krishna or Durga or Shiva. You have to start with that. Then, in course of time, the mind will go to a very high level where Vasudeva Sarvamiti will make sense to us. That is what is hinted here. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Jnanavan San. By being that kind of Jnani, Maam, Mujhe, Nirupadhi Premaspadam. It's always easy to love a girl or a boy or a man or a woman who has good looks, has good qualities, he's very creative, so you love him. He's a good actor, a good singer, very good looking, good quality, he's very compassionate, very kind. So everybody loves such people, isn't it? Anybody who comes across a very good singer, they love him or her. And if she's also beautiful, she's very compassionate, does a lot of charity work, people love her or him even more. Very easy. But if you have to love something which is not even visible to you, can you love? How will you love? Because you love, because you will realize that particular thing in me is just one and the same thing. And it's me only. It's my Atma, and I'm not different from it. That is the only reality that exists. That gives you that wisdom to have a new attitude of love. And that love is essentially truth consciousness. वो जो प्यार है वो लड़ाई झगड़े वाला चॉकलेट खाने वाला प्यार नहीं है, वो सच्चाई विराजमान होने के लिए जो मन का अवस्था चाहिए, जो ज्ञान चाहिए, उसमें स्थिर हो जाना है, तब वो प्रेम को वो अनुभव करता है. इसलिए भगवान कहते हैं निरुपाधि प्रेमास्पदम प्रपद्यन्ते. सो ही लव्स मी, worships me in that fashion. Sarvada samasta prema vishaytvena. He understands because I'm everywhere. He loves a car and a house and a... No, this is out of ignorance. He knows whatever exists in the sansara is my grace. So whatever you're looking for what? God's grace. But he goes to the center. So मैं भगवान से प्यार कर लूं, उनके दया से जो आते हैं उनके पीछे क्यों भागूं, सीधे जो सोर्स है वहां तक पहुंच जाऊं. So that fellow therefore is establishing himself in that ultimate truth. That is what he is saying. Samasta prema vishaytvena. So I am the subject matter of everything that a person loves in life. Bhajate. Sakalam idam aham cha vasudeva. So there are two things. Sakalam idam. So everything that you see, the drishya, whatever you see, sakalam idam, मैं जो देख रहा हूँ, aham cha और मैं, कौन देख रहा है? So the drashta, the drik and the drishya, देखने वाला और दिखने वाला, जो देख रहा है और जो दिख रहा है, दोनों भगवान के दया से ही प्रस्तुत है. यहाँ पे आपका दिखना और आप जो देख रहे हैं, both are grace of God manifesting as matter and chetana. He's his game because of his maya. That is how he understands it. Okay, and therefore he says his own himself and whatever he sees. So Vasudeva iti drishtva. By seeing all this, sarva premnam Mai eva paryavasi tvat, and whatever you are loving, like Jagyamalka said to, Maitreyi, whatever you love because you love yourself. And this particular devotee realizes that whatever I'm praying, I am actually praying Lord Krishna, Vasudeva. So, Sarva Deva Namaskaram, Kesavam Pratigachati. That is a very Vedantic statement. Whichever God you do your worship or Namaskara, it goes to Kesava, Lord Krishna. So, Lord Krishna here is Vasudeva Sarvamiti in that sense. Because he's everything, Lord Shiva or Durga or anything cannot be different from him. It's only different name. It's the same truth, Param Brahman, Parameshwar. So that is how we talk about many gods and goddesses in Hinduism, but truth of the matter is we have only one Ishvara, but different kind of appearances. Okay? Now, Ata sa eva jnana purvaka madbhaktiman mahatma atyanta suddha antakaranatvat jivana muktah. And who is this guy is really great, the fourth Jnani. Why? Because ज्ञान पूर्वक मत भक्तिमान, उसका जो भक्ति है कृष्ण करके रोने वाला भक्ति नहीं है, उसका भक्ति है ज्ञान पूर्वक, ज्ञान मिश्रा भक्ति. His bhakti and his jnana, the jnana yoga and bhakti yoga for this kind of a jnani is one and the same. His jnana yoga becomes bhakti yoga. He constantly is thinking about me. He doesn't have to go to temple for 5 hours or 2 hours to dance and say Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. That's very good for common people. But for that Jivan Mukta who is constantly living the life in presence of God, whose consciousness is filled with the divine principle, that fellow doesn't, because his meditation, his very being, his very consciousness is bhakti, complete surrender to the divine principle. And therefore he's saying Mahatma Atyanta Suddha Antakaranatvat, because he's a Mahatma. Why? Because his mind, body, Manabuddhi, Ahankar, it has been so much purified. He thinks I'm no different from God, and therefore he's Jivana Muktaha. When a person is completely surrendered to the God and he's sort of established in that final divine principle of ultimate truth, he's liberated, he's Jivana Mukta. Sarvat Krishna is best among all. Not samo, tat samo, anya asti. There is no one else who can compare with him. It's like Beethoven, music composer. You don't look for a comparison. You said, yeah, he was the best. You don't compare. You don't think about anyone else. So similarly, so he's like Sarvat Krishto, sa tat samo na asti, anyo na anyo asti. Adhikastu nasti eva. There's somebody, no one who is better than him. You know why? There is nothing better to know. Once you know that Brahma, that Niratisaya Brahma Jnana has happened, then there is nothing more to achieve. Because there is nothing more to achieve. Can you find somebody who has achieved more? Because this is the ultimate consciousness. This is the ultimate state of being. And therefore, you cannot find another fellow who can claim that I have known truth more. What do you mean by that? The ultimate truth is already known. Whosoever knows that truth becomes part of that truth consciousness. He will never say, I know more than this Jnani, because he will say, actually, that Jnani and me were just one consciousness in two bodies. That will be the understanding. There's a beautiful conversation. Once there was one Sufi poet who came to Kabir and they met, and he stayed in his house for 3 days, and he had roti and sabji or whatever. There was no conversation. And his son asked, Papa, aapne to baat nahi kiya. You didn't talk to this friend who came to you. Kabir laughed. He said, baat kya karna tha? Because constantly his consciousness is established in God. And my consciousness is established in God. Roti kha ke gaya, baat hogi? Kya baat hua? Baat karne laik kuch hai hi nahi. It's all about feeling the presence of God. So the very time I looked at him and he looked at me, we understood each other. And that is the beginning and end of all conversations. There is no argument. There is nothing. There is a sweet feeling of acceptance of that harmony, that unity, that unites all of us. We may have different names and forms, but what unites all of us, that sweet truth consciousness. And that is what he's saying, that there is no one is beyond that. Okay, and then ataha sudurlava, therefore it is very difficult to get one. Manushyanam sahasreshu, even if you search amongst thousands of people, do a head haunting for the gyanis, dukhena api labdhum asakyaha, even you do a lot of hard work, you will not find one. Ataha saha Niratisaya mat priti visaya iti yuktam eva ityartha. And therefore, don't ask me why I love him most. Don't you understand why I love him most? Look at the quality of his consciousness. He is at the ultimate level of self-realization. And his self-realization is God realization, because there is no difference between self and God, because he has understood the secret of Vedanta. And therefore, it's only normal, it's very natural, it's very logical that I am going to have great affection for him. But the moment you say this has real, it is whatever he said literally is true, then you are violating the principle of Vedanta, because actually there is no Bhakta, no Bhagavan, there is only Suddha Chaitanya. Upadhi Vedat, with names and forms, with titles, we all are different, right? We have done that part. But actually there is only one Suddha Chaitanya. Bhagavan is explaining that he is dear to me, I am too dear to him. It's basically a literary way of expressing that there is only one unified field of consciousness, which is truth, and in which anyone who is established, Brahmavid Brahmeva Bhavati. There is no difference, there is no contradiction in his consciousness anymore. Okay, then let's go to the next verse. We have a little time. Tadevam artadi bhaktatrayapekya jnanino bhaktasya utkarsaha tesam jnani nityukta eka bhaktihi visesyate ityatra pratigyata vakhyatah. And therefore he is saying that it is very obvious as to why this jnani is better, and his nitya yukta is always established in me and is better than everyone else. Adhunatu sakamatve bhedadarshitve cha same api देवता अंतर भक्ता अपेक्षया आर्तादीनां त्रयणां स्वभक्तानां उत्कर्ष उदारः सर्व एव एते इत्यत्र प्रतिज्ञातो भगवता व्याख्यायते यावत् अध्याय समाप्तिः. Now he is saying, this is an introduction for the remaining slokas of chapter 7. Okay, because after 7 we have few more slokas. It will come to an end at the 30th sloka. We have already done the 19th, we are going to 10th. So the next 8-9 slokas he is saying is about the other bhaktas, and Bhagavan will say that even others are very superior. And why? Because they are at least looking at me as Vasudevam Sarvamiti. They are also not inferior. Okay, because of their life situation, somebody has a child, somebody has a wife, somebody has a grandmother or a mother to take care of, somebody has some social responsibilities, and therefore they are caught up in their life. They are not inferior as my devotees. The very fact that they love me, they are truth-oriented, makes them exceptionally great, exceptionally superior compared to others. Those who are running after money and house and this and that. My children, my devotees, are doing jobs, they're married, they have children, but don't take them lightly. They're truth-oriented. They're established in me. I protect them, and therefore they're very, very superior. And this particular thing, even though there is some bheda, they see this is God, this is me, all this, their jnana is not very paripakva, that is fine. But nevertheless, they have become students of Vedanta, and they are trying to meditate on this Nirupadhika Ishvara, and therefore they're very, very special. Samane api ayase sakamatve bhedadarshitve cha madbhaktaha bhumika kramena sarvatkrishtam mokhyakhyam phalam labhante. Even though they do a lot of difficulty, because they are sakama bhaktas. Artha has one kind of problem, he's in a pandemic or he has some physical problem. Surdas was blind, so a lot of great devotees had some physical ailments, right? So they are arthas sometimes. They cry, Bhagavan, why have you given me so much of poverty? Why am I losing a son or a daughter? All these thoughts do come to them. They suffer. They are arthas. Someone is jigyansu, Bhagavan, मुझे समझ में क्यों नहीं आ रहा है? Why can't I understand everything that I want? So they have these troubles or authorities that I want to have this house, or I want to achieve this, I want to raise some funds to have something for people, they want to do some charity work. So they have some difficulties, but they are dedicated to me. Me means what? They are Atma Chaitanya, Nishtha. They're oriented towards that Atma Nishtha. And therefore they're very special. So even though they start in different kinds of levels of consciousness, as Artha, Artharthi, or Jigyansu, ultimately they reach me. The Artha will also become Jigyansu, the Artharthi will also become Jigyansu, and the Jigyansu will take sannyasa, study Vedanta, do sadhana, and finally become Jnani. So this is the Karma Yoga. He'll do some Nishkama Karma Yoga, and he'll do some Upasana, and then he'll Avantakarana Suddhi, right? And then he'll graduate, and then finally he will take Vividisa Sannyasa, he will study Manprastha once social responsibilities are over, and he will be established in me. That is what he beautifully explains. Then, Khyudra Devata Bhaktastu Khudrameva Punah Punah Sansara Rupam Phala. There are other people, Khyudra Devatas. Who are the Khyudra Devatas? Small gods and goddesses. Now, Bhagavad Gita is not making fun of any gods and goddesses. Please understand. That is not the purpose. What is being hinted here is, like for example, somebody saying, you have a lot of small Gram Devtis, right? So people get into that. Or some people worship, you can worship any gods and goddesses. But what is meant here, that you have to graduate from these small devata names and forms, उनके पूजा से थोड़ा ऊपर उठ के, you have to do a bit of Jnana Mishra Bhakti. You have to have a Vedantic Bhakti. And then you see, हाँ ठीक है ये सब देवता, बट ईश्वर एक ही सत्य है, और ईश्वर ब्रह्म का ही रूप है नाम रूप के साथ. And I have to go to that level where I'll go beyond names and forms. So these minor understandings, a lot of people say, as आपको पता है उनके पास बहुत power है. They go to a lot of gurus and all, and these gurus tell them lies also, and many of them get arrested. Like Haryana, there was this one guy who was an electric clerk or diploma engineer and became very famous, Ram Swarup or something, and became a big powerful guy. And then some people got killed because police tried to arrest him. These people fired, and there were a lot of children running around. There was a big problem. So a lot of these very powerful gurus are kind of worshipped. They are worshipped as God. They are being referred to as Khyudra Devatas. Okay? So if you do this kind of Khyudra Devatas, then obviously Punah Punah Sansaranam. Like you want to have business success, or somebody wants name and form, fine. But karma, bondage will be there. Okay? Or you do some mantra sadhana because you want some siddhi. Remember, karmas will follow you. That is not free from karma. We'll discuss that some other time. This is not to make fun of anyone. We respect everyone else. As Vedanti, you love all. That is the Vedantic attitude. Because that is उनका कर्म वो है, वो कर रहे हैं. हमें ना उन्हें घृणा करना है, ना अपना रास्ता छोड़ना है. अतः सर्वेपि आर्ता जिज्ञासवो अर्थार्थिनश्च मामेव प्रपन्नाः सन्तो अनायासेन सर्वोत्कृष्टं मोक्षाख्यं फलं लभन्ते इति अभिप्रायः परमकारुणिकस्य भगवतः. So Bhagavan is telling that even though somebody may be Artha, maybe he's in a problem or in a pandemic, or somebody may be Jigyansu who wants to study a lot and he wants to know who is God, he has taken sannyasa. Somebody may be Artharthi, may be married, having daughter and son, and therefore has to look after their lives. That is his duty. And then by doing that Grihastha karma, or that social work, that jnana studies or adhyayana, they will graduate to higher levels step by step, and they will reach my feet. My feet is what? Lotus feet. That is liberation. Tatra parama purushartha phalamapi bhagavat bhajanam upekshya kshudra phale kshudra devata bhajane purva vasana vishesah eva asadharana hetu ityarthaha. Now the whole question is, why people run after all these things when This question was asked even earlier. Bhagwan said, "वो तो पापी हैं, इसलिए मेरे नाम नहीं लेते हैं." Now the same thing he's saying in different words. In sloka number 15, he has already explained to us, पापी लोग हैं, इसलिए मेरा नाम नहीं लेते हैं. They are not oriented towards truth. He is slightly being a little more considerate and trying to explain why people dabble in or get interested in other schools of thoughts other than this marga of jnana. There are very few people who want to study Upanishad and stuff like that. They are interested in, हाँ ये गुरु के पास जाओ ये हो जाएगा, अरे मुझे तो सब मिल गया, बहुत आनंद मिलता है. A lot of people have that sort of an attitude. They don't want to understand anything. Why he is explaining this? That they have their purva vasanas. They don't want to take any risks. They don't want to study anything. They want some comfort. Somebody tells a lie, they are happy. For them, lie is more precious. Why? They think looking for truth is a big challenge. But liberation or resolution of your problems comes only by accepting truths. I can tell a lie to you. You are the most attractive person on earth. You are the most creative person on earth. That can be very, it's a feel good thing. It will not last very long. But when we work together and study and understand, okay, this is the truth, then there is no curiosity. You have no more craving. That is what Bhagavan says, that people have their own desires and therefore they will do this small Kshudra Devata. So this Kshudra Devata you can interpret as actually small demigods and demigoddesses, but you can also interpret as lower level aspirations and cravings in life, philosophical speaking. All of us have. I want to be the best cricketer. I want to have the guy with the best muscle in the world. For them, it's the ultimate thing. And why that fellow is building his muscle, he cannot carry it. And we see a lot of bodybuilders. At least I know 3 bodybuilders of India have died in Corona. Why they are talking like this? Because they have their old previous lives aspirations. And he's explaining it in verse number 28. Kameisteistir pritaghyanaha prapadyante devataha tang tang niyamamasthaya prakritya niyataha swaya. Kamehi, because they have so many desires, that is third case, Tritiya Vibhakti Bahuvachana. Kamehi, Balakehi, Teihi. And by these kamanas, all these kamanas, Kritagyanaha, that their mind, their consciousness, their understanding is clouded. Krita means, somebody who has stolen it. Nobody steals your mind. Your mind gets hijacked by these desires, like a person who is addicted to a particular, like ganja or alcohol. He'll do anything, but he needs his addiction thing in the evening. Similarly, the mind has a lot of predilections or orientations or affinities, and it is obsessed with that. It could be anything. And this is clouded, that is achadita, that is krita jnanaha prapadyante anya devataha. So they don't want to come to me. Vasudeva sarvamiti. That Vedantic thing they are not interested in. They would rather be happy worshipping a political leader or a film star. If you go to their house in schools and colleges, you'll find people have a lot of film stars pictures as if they are gods and goddesses. These are the Kshudra Devatas. Tang tang niyamam asthaya. Now they want to do some sadhana. Somebody says, ye sadhana karne par, if you pick up some roadside tantric books, they give you a lot of advices. Okay, you want to attract girls? Okay, you have to do this kind of, that is called Mohana Vidya. And okay, so a lot of people fighting against you. There is something called Stambhana Vidya. He cannot speak. He argues with you, he becomes quiet. Then you are building a house or something, so there are some negative energies, you want to throw them out, Uchchatana Vidya. So there are these Marana Vidya, you want to kill somebody. These tantric paths are there. So Bhagavad Gita is kind of attracting us back to the Vedantic path of meditation instead of getting into these magical practices, which do not have any ultimate benefit. No self-knowledge. You might get some power. Remember, these powers are temporary and they will bind you in chains of karma because you will do some negative things. Any work which is done with phalasanga, desire for results, has karma bandha. That has been explained in the earlier chapters. कोई भी चीज, कोई मकसद रख के आप करते हैं, वही मकसद से आप बांधे जाते हैं, वही आपको बांध देगा। भगवान कह रहे हैं मकसद छोड़ो, मेरा सोचो, मेरे बारे में सोचो, काम करो, मैं हूं, तुम्हें बचाऊंगा, योगक्षेम वहाम्यहम्। मैं तुम्हारा जो नहीं हो पूरा करूंगा, जो है उसको बचाऊंगा, तुम उसके बारे में ना सोचो, मेरे पे समा जाओ। आई टेक केयर ऑफ यू, डू योर ड्यूटी, निष्काम कर्म करो, ईश्वर अर्पण बुद्धिया कर्म समापन कुरु। दैट इज व्हाट भगवान सेज। You do your work, surrender to me, I'll take care. Don't worry. No, if I don't attend, I may not be able to complete the work in time, sir. So let me be a little focused on the results of this work. God will say, if you do it, your work will not be completed in time because you will waste time thinking about karma phala. And then you will have bondage. This is a very mysterious thing. Whatever you have successfully done in your life, you please remember, you will find you are not thinking about any results. Is a management principle. You think about it in life. Whenever any great thing has happened to you, it has happened because you are not seriously thinking about the phala part of it. You were dedicated to the karma part of it, and you gave your best, and God gave you the best result without your asking for it. So let's continue to pray but not get obsessed with the result. That's what he's saying. And these people, when they go to these Chudra Devatas for different kind of sthis or siddhis, so if you want to build the muscle, then you have to take a lot of protein powder, and you will have a lot of food supplement. Now they're saying the people who have had those food supplements, they develop some weak immunity against this virus. They are the ones who are dying. Most of the guys who are gymming, they are the ones you'll find they are having very bad complications. This is not to say don't go to the gym, but too much of gymming and taking a lot of food supplements, which are chemical, synthetic food supplements to build muscles, perhaps isn't a very great thing. Some people will argue like that. So what has every siddhi requires a bit of niyama, right? Some discipline you require. So this Kshudra Devata and Tantric and other practices and black magic and stuff like that will distract you away from the spiritual path, and you follow rules and regulations of those demigods and goddesses. And then you are jailed in that particular spiritual practice, and it will be very difficult for you to come close to me or become a Vishishta Yuktatma. You cannot be. So Shankaracharya says, Kamehi Tehi Tehi Putra Pasu Swargadi Visehi. Beautifully saying, what are the desires? So I want a handsome son, I want my son to be successful, I want so many animals in current days, maybe stocks or maybe cars or houses. And then after my death, I should go to Swarga. All these desires. Hrita Jnanaha, Aprakrita Viveka Vijnanaha. ज्ञान मतलब यहाँ पे क्या है? ज्ञान तो हुआ ही नहीं है, तो ज्ञान चोरी क्या हो जाएगा? ज्ञान कभी चोरी नहीं होता। यहाँ पे विवेक नहीं है, उसका विवेक विज्ञान उसके पास नहीं है. He doesn't have the ability to discriminate. Prapadyante anya devataha, they worship other gods, other demigods. What kind of sense in why? Prapnuvanti vasudevat atmanaha anya devataha. They don't have that atma anveshana, purvaka ishwara aradhana. That doesn't happen with them. When a person knows, he has read about Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, he does Lord Krishna and everything, he knows everything is one, he focuses and prays Vasudevam, one Ishvara who has manifested and all. That's a different kind of thing. But these people are going for different kind of tantric practices. You take this name, worship this goddess, you are going to get this result. They are in a different path. Tam niyamam Deva Aradhane. If you are doing different kind of gods and goddesses, and there, a lot of women do Santosima, these are all good in starting, remember. But there are some black magic things also people do, which are not good from this perspective. Deva Aradhane Prasiddha Yo Niyamaha, like Karma Kandas people do. Okay, all these niyamas, if you do, tam asthaya, and then they asritya, by depending on those methodologies, prakritya svabhavena, and because of their own nature, Rajasika, like Ravana, he had met Lord Shiva. He had Ishvara Darsana. He didn't get moksha. He suffered so much. Of course, finally he got moksha because he was killed by Lord Ram. But why did he suffer and do all this nonsense and destroyed all his children? Then you can say, Prakritiya swabhavena, because of his own nature, janmantara arjita sanskara visheshana, because of his own qualities he has inherited, sattva, raja and tama from previous birth, they start manifesting niyata, niyamitaha. They are controlled by those energies, swiya, atmiyaya. So they are controlled by their own gunas and energies which have they inherited, and they are kind of further expanded because of a certain way in which they are doing their karma. And there's 3-4 lines. Let me read and wind up this verse. There is not much. Mohana, Stammana, Karshana, Vashikarana. These are all the tantrika kriyas. Mohana, if the person has done this, I don't know, if you look at him, you feel good because he has done that kriya. So he has a charming personality. Stambana, as I told you, they will disable you from arguing for. You are always afraid of him. And Vasikarana, you are always subservient. Uske haath mein aap chale jate hain. Then Vasikarana, Marana. Then he wants to kill you. He has a puja and they'll kill you doing that Marana mantra. Uchchatana, in throwing something out, displacing somebody. Adi Visaya. विषय ही भगवत सेवया. नाउ ये जो चीजें हैं, ये जो सिद्धियां हैं, ये कृष्ण जी का नाम लेने पर मिलेगा क्या? नहीं मिलेगा. These are inferior things. A guy who wants to study physics and maths, he doesn't have the skills in fighting with others. These are lower level skills. He is having higher level skills where he is applying his ability to understand how nuclear reactors work, or he understands what are the subatomic particles. His mind is very sharp. He doesn't have time to waste over how to fight with a guy in a cricket field. He's not interested in that. Similarly, by doing Ishvara Seva, Krishna Seva, by studying Vedanta, will you get the siddhis, mohana? Somebody will find you are very attractive. No, you don't even need it, because जो दिखता है वो सच नहीं है. मैं मोहित करके भी क्या कर लूंगा जब मेरा रूप ही सच नहीं है. वो मोहित करने वाला रूप बन जाए तो मुझे क्या मिलेगा? मेरा तो शरीर ही नहीं है. तो वो उसका चक्कर अलग है. वेदांती इज अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ एनिमल. सो ही इज नॉट फैसिनेटेड बाय द सिद्धीज, एंड देयरफॉर सेवया लब्धुम अशक्यत्वेन अभिमतेहि तेहि क्षुद्रैहि. एंड बिकॉज दिस इज, अच्छा वेदांत पढ़ रहे हो लेकिन उसमें कोई पावर नहीं है. आप आओ तंत्र सीखो, आपको ले जाएंगे और आपसे पैसे वैसे भी लेंगे, आपको दीक्षा देंगे, ये करेंगे. दैट्स अ डिफरेंट बिजनेस. So these fellows who have some temptation, some desire, some bad sanskaras run after these kind of cheats. Shudrehi kamehi. Abhilesehi aparhita chetasah. Abhilesehi hritam apahritam. So their minds are achadita, kind of hijacked. Bhagavatah Vasudevat vimukhi kritya. They look the other way from Vasudeva. They don't look at Vedanta. They don't look at Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna Bhakti, I am not saying about that, but this Parameshwara Bhagavan, they don't look at him. They look at those small gods and goddesses, Bhoot, Pret. ये सब में उन्हें आग्रह होता है. वासुदेवाद विमुखी कृत्य तत्पद फलदातित्व अभिमत क्षुद्र देवता अभिमुखम. So what he does, he will take you away from the Vedanta, he will take you away from Upanishads, and then they will take you where? All these black magical practices and small things. चलो body building करते हैं, trekking करते हैं. These are more exciting things. Why to do yoga and all? Similarly, they will take you away, and the small things, ये करने पर ये मिलेगा. So you should become very happy. And niyamam, and then all the rules you have to follow, right? Shudra devata nitam jnanam antakaranam yesam te anya devata bhagavato vasudevat anyaha. So their mindset is such that they become distracted from this Vedantic path, from this Vaidika marga, Jnana marga. They go into this different kinds of suspicious spiritual practices and regimens and disciplines. They practice them. They do all that. They will take meat and alcohol and all kinds of things that are prescribed in those cults. They get into these cult things and they follow Bhagavata Vasudevat Anyaha Kshudra Devataha Tam Niyamam Japa Upavasa Pradakshana Namaskara Adi Rupam. All kinds of rules and regulations they have. So you have to do this puja at night, or you have to wear a red sari to do this puja. They follow those rules and regulations. Rupam Tatta Devata Aradhane. Then they worship those demigods and goddesses. Prasiddham Niyavam Asthaya Asritya Prapadyante. So they follow the methodologies that they read in the book and do these bhajante. Tat tat kshudra phala prapti ichhaya, because they have a desire to get those smaller, lesser results. Because you look very handsome, you have a little money. Where does that go? When you die, this body falls here. And the Mohana Sakti, where does it go? It's a wastage of time, isn't it? So he's saying these Kudra Phala Prapti Ichaya, because they want to achieve these small results. Shudra Devata Madhyepi Kechid Kanchit Eva Bhajante Swasya Prakritya Niyata Asadharanaya Purva Bhyasavasanaya Vasikritaha Santaha. So, because of their very nature, they will go and worship and they will get entangled in those practices. Asadharanaya, Purvabhyasa Vasanaya Vasukita, because they're kind of pulled away from the Jnana Marga into all that. And I was reading a blog, I'll just stop it here because our section is over. We'll do the 21st tomorrow. You know what? I read a blog that he heard that there is something called Karna Pichasi Mantra, and if you do the sadhana, you can know about others. Okay, so he did that sadhana, and it has some dirty rituals, and did that. And then what happened is that this Karna Pisachi, this lady, that energy, he sort of captured that fellow, and then she did not let him get married. She said, "No, you have to stay loyal to me, otherwise I'll kill you." So whenever he wanted to marry anyone, this energy, this Sakti will go and kill that lady and harm her family. He became so desperate, he went somebody and he said that, okay, you do one thing, you go inside, you take a bath and do and change your clothes and everything, and stay inside a Vishnu temple. Go to Trichy or somewhere and stay for a year doing only Harinam from morning to night to get rid of this energy. So these occult cult paths, there are many dirty black magic paths. They do business in the name of religion, in the name of spirituality, but they create certain emotional, spiritual, and energy level disturbances in us. So this is an alert that the Vedantic path will not give you any powers. No, it will give you the greatest power. What is that? It will get you closer to the power beyond which there is no other power. It gives you understanding. Knowledge is power. Real knowledge lies in understanding. So it is going to give you that kind of power. If you want power to misbehave, to cheat, to manipulate, no, those powers are not available here. So those powers are available in other schools, and one has to go and take admission. But you have to forego the privilege of being in this school of thought, which is a great path, and it's a path of self-realization. So you have to make a call. So I'll stop here, and I'll stop the YouTube. We have exceeded time by 5 minutes. So now